Hi everyone! Hope your day is going great so far. Every year, millions of Americans fall victim to various scammers. But in this instance, the Social Security Administration has been sending out 100% of the scams. Authentic emails that require immediate attention. We'll talk about that and more, since the information in these emails affects about 46 million Americans, and you should take immediate action. We're going to discuss the possibility that the 2025 cost living adjustment could be larger than the hike this year as well. But before we get into the major topic of today's film, if you could swiftly assist me by simply liking it, which only helps the good old YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please also think about subscribing to my channel. Social Security and the crucial emails that were sent out yesterday were both anticipated and somewhat unexpected. Joe Biden resigned as the Democratic Party's nominee. I suppose he will continue to serve in office until January, or until he is replaced by whoever wins in November. At the moment, Kamala Harris is the frontrunner of obviously, but in my view at least, and leave your thoughts and opinions are welcome below. I'd love to read them and learn what you guys think as well. However, I believe that Democrats ought to hold another primary and election, given that it will undoubtedly be exceedingly challenging to arrange an election in every state by, say, October at the latest, given that the other election will take place in November. But it might be very challenging to put that up and arrange it in all 50 states. But in my opinion, that's the best course of action because, let's face it, a lot of Americans, took time. Perhaps they had to reschedule their days in order to participate in the Democratic primary. They participated in the Biden one in each of the 50 states, so if you're going to, when the time comes for you or any other American to actually show up at the polls and vote for Biden, Biden withdraws, and someone else is chosen to take his place. Voting for them, and they simply removed Kamala Harris from office, despite the fact that she wasn't elected or voted for. This is a blatant insult to the patients and Democratic voters. Many people took time out of their day to visit the polls and cast a vote for Biden. However, do share your opinions and comments here, of course, as soon as possible. Harris is off to a fast start on the path to 1,086 delegates. Thus, according to The Hill, as of 10 p.m. on Sunday, 531 delegates had already been secured. This means that in order to win the nomination, a contender must secure 1,186 delegates. Select and elected officials have already endorsed Harris, as you can see in the chart. According to DNC regulations, a contender needs the promised support of 300 delegates. In order to be listed on the convention ballot, Harris has already started contacting delegates in an effort to get their support. South Carolina and Tennessee were the first states to pledge all of their eligible delegates to Harris. Carolina, Florida, and New Hampshire lagging behind on Sunday. In terms of how a hypothetical Harris versus Trump contest might play out, we do have some polling data up to this point. It should be intriguing to see. Statistics trickle in throughout the next months, but as of right now, we can see that if the Harris-Trump showdown were to take place today, Trump would now have about 2% advantage. Many things could actually change if Harris is chosen as the nominee. For example, if there is a debate and Harris does well, then that could also happen. Could give him a slight advantage in the polls. But if Hillary does badly, Trump could naturally jump out to a sizable lead, much as he did against Biden before the latter dropped out. Now let's get into one of the major issues of today's video. Millions of Social Security recipients have been receiving emails from the Social Security Administration. Yes, the real Social Security Administration, not fraudsters. An important email that individuals need to respond to, and according to KTLA, this is not a hoax. Social Security receivers are common targets of scams, but an email sent to a sizable beneficiary group is acceptable. According to the agent, consumers who registered for online accounts before to September 18, 2021, received an email informing them of significant changes to their accounts. These individuals had login credentials with, quote, my Social Security number, and must switch to updated login.gov credentials. They claim that after getting in touch with KTLA sister station, this is not a hoax. The Social Security Administration informed the public in a press release that year about the modifications I said. Quote, "We are changing the way people access all of our online services, including my Social Security." The Social Security Administration clarified that the purpose of the change is to comply with federal authentication requirements to ensure that the online sign-in process stays safe. To reiterate, this is an official email from the Security Administration. It is not a hoax or anything of the sort. Therefore, please make sure to proceed, and we'll go over some easy steps that you may follow to update everything and switch to login.gov. Firstly, if you already have an account, they advise you to use it. You must first connect into your current My Social Security account. Once you're logged in, you may notice a transition option. This transfer procedure entails making a new account and connecting it to your current account. You will receive a confirmation screen after completing the procedures, and you will be able to see all of your information just like you would have when we entered into our Social Security account using our identity. The administration informed us that the shift to login.gov is only getting started, so you might not see it when you log in next. As for when you will need to, a representative for login.gov said CNET that as of June 2024, roughly 46 million customers out of 86 million total users still needed to switch to a login.gov account, meaning there are still millions of users who need to do so. Regarding the approaching cost of living adjustment, many estimations have been released. It is advised that Americans who must make that move do so as soon as feasible. There are varying between, let's say, 2.7% and 2.6%, which would obviously be somewhat less than what we were given for the 2024 COLA. Many people then wonder if there's any possibility that the cost of adjustment may be greater. We'll be going over if it could really be higher, and we could actually receive something like a 3.3 or 3.5 COLA in 2025 than what we received in 2024. Thus, based on the monthly data, the following would need to occur in order for 2025 Social Security benefits to surpass 2024's inflation. The upcoming months, and it's not something that any consumer, working or otherwise, should be praying for, because the truth is that decreasing inflation might hurt Social Security recipients significantly. Financial well-being compared to their somewhat more generous increase in monthly benefits. Growing inflation can make it much harder to pay for necessities like groceries, gas, and electricity. Thus, no one should be cheering for a. Despite the possible effects on Social Security, there was a third-quarter rise in inflation. Basically, this means that the cost of modifications is calculated using third-quarter data for the CPI, a measure of inflation. Short for Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, July, August, and September is the third quarter. The July, August, and September statistics are reported in the months that follow. Therefore, the July number is released in August, the August number is released in September, the September number is released in October, and the cost living adjustment will only be made known in October. It ultimately appear like this. As you can see up on the screen, we essentially compare the third quarter figures from this year, and we're going to compare that to the third quarter statistics of last year. The CPIW readings are represented by all those numbers up there, and the marks I made correspond to the months of July, August, September, and October, which will all be revealed once again. August, September, and October, so the first significant reading for the third quarter data will be in August of next month. The CPIW for July will be reported again in August of next month. As August, and you can see that the July number for 2023, which was made public in August, was 299.8 N9. Essentially, what we would need to see in order to truly have much, we need that figure to come in at roughly 310 in order to have a chance of having a higher cost living adjustment the following year. This should be a big rise, roughly a 75%. The greatest you can truly expect for the cost of living adjustment to be next year is maybe 2.8% right now. It's at like 2.8% now. Increase year over year, which is something I just don't expect to happen right now. 2.6, and inflation has simply not been rising as much as it has, which is beneficial if we wind up getting a greater cost of living adjustment in 2025 than we did this year. That would indicate that something extremely catastrophic happened in 2024, when inflation is really starting to pick up, and that the cost adjustments made over the previous few years have not kept up with inflation. So even if we did obtain a greater cost of adjustment, it's likely that the rise you would receive wouldn't allow you to continue purchasing the same goods and services